Hey guys, it's Faye from Solar Flow and I am back with another video. Today's topic is a deep dive, totally wild, behind the veil analysis on the TV show from the 90s called Twin Peaks. Was it a documentary? Was it just one big ass reveal? Or was it just a work of fiction? Watch this video and find out. So, Twin Peaks, a little brief rundown. Twin Peaks is a show that was on in the early 1990s. And yes, I remember this part because I was probably too young to watch the show at the time. But having older brothers that were watching it, I kind of piggybacked on and I got to watch it too. And I don't know what it was, something just recently, well, no, I do know what it was. When I'm in a very, very relaxed state, like for example, doing something mindless, like driving or doing my makeup or like doing the dishes, information just decides to plop right on into my head. And I got this big ass download that Twin Peaks was a documentary. And I was like, oh my God, a lot of this actually makes a lot of sense. So some of the information that I'm going to share today is channeled information that after I got this download, I sat down and I decided to look into it. And then in addition to that, I didn't remember everything that happened in the show. So I did something I never ever did do before. I actually sat down and I Googled it to get like a brief synopsis of the entirety of the show. And from that, I was actually even to connect certain things thereafter. So this is gonna be wild. If you're down for it, buckle up, buttercups, because I cannot imagine a more perfect way to connect all the dots with a lot of the different things that we have been talking about in different videos than to connect it to this TV show, Twin Peaks. Okay, so there's going to be some, I'm gonna ruin some things for you. If you haven't seen the show, some of the things that I'm gonna discuss are it's gonna ruin certain things. So if you've watched the show and you're interested in the reveals, you're gonna love this. But even if you haven't watched the show, you can still watch this video and then you can go back and you can watch the show and it's still gonna make a lot of sense. And I actually highly recommend doing that. And even if certain things, even if I'm gonna spoil certain things, it's still gonna resonate and it's still gonna make a lot of sense because you're gonna be watching the show through the lens of receiving this information. So it's going to really hit a different way, even if you're watching it for the first time. So, and I'm gonna have to spoil some things because that's just the nature of doing a video like this. Please forgive me. But the first episode in the first season starts by a body being found in the water. And it comes to pass and it comes to come out that it was a body of a young girl named Laura Palmer, who was the homecoming queen. And the first season is all about trying to discover who had done this. And in the process of trying to discover who had done this in this sleepy little town where things like this don't really happen, but in the process of trying to discover who had done this, a lot of other things are revealed as well. And we're going to talk about all of those things and also a little bit in the psychological component of things that were going on in the show. Because while I had gone and I was Googling certain things were just popping out at me right, left, and center. And as most of you, I would say, probably don't know, I actually have a degree in not just psychology, but in forensic psychology. So as I was kind of like Googling things, I was like, God damn it. Like if this is not like a really, really notable psychological thing to unpack, I cannot imagine what is. So there's going to be a component of that as well. It's going to be fun. I don't know how long this video is going to be. It might be long. I promise you it's going to be worth it because there's going to be golden nuggets and gems left, right, and center that if going behind the veil is your jam, if understanding the astral plane is your jam, in wanting to understand the entities on the astral plane is your jam, God damn it, is this the video for you? Okay, so, yes, let's just cut to the chase. The show was straight up a documentary. It was straight up a reveal. Now, how can that be? Did the creator of this show, a gentleman by the name of David Lynch, did he know that he was writing a reveal? If somebody else is going to be writing a movie or a TV show that ends up being a reveal, do they know it? So we're going to first start there, because this stuff actually will connect with a lot that's going on later on, to certain things that connect in the show. So some people, absolutely yes, they do know that what they're doing is a reveal. Some people can just sit down and meditate and they'll receive information. Some people set out to connect to entities on the astral realm and receive information that way. And some people are very much conduits of information that can pass through them. And I'm going to say that with David Lynch, he was more of a conduit. He, first of all, had a very, very open crown chakra, right? So that's, and I've said in other videos as well, having an open crown chakra is one of the key elements that you need in connecting to any and all information that's available to somebody that's on the astral realm, both of the good and of the bad. Look at it this way. If someone's wearing a hat and it's raining outside, it's protecting their head from the water. It's very much the same way. If someone is closed here, they cannot receive information to come in. So this is really like one of the most important key elements in someone's ability to receive information. There's other ways that information can come in when a person is in like for example, a very highly relaxed state of mind, such as sleep. There's a reveal for that in the show as well. Being in nature. All of these things can enable somebody who is otherwise closed to receive information, because they're in a more open and susceptible mind space where there's not going to be the creation of a lot of resistance. So for example, sleep, doing something mindless like dishes, going for a walk, going for a run, as long as you don't have something jabbed in your ears and you're not listening to a podcast. But anytime your mind is doing something mindless, driving for example, information can come in. Now, this David Lynch had a very, very open crown chakra, but in addition to that, he had a strong core identity in knowing who he was and in knowing the kind of movies and shows that he was interested in writing, producing, and creating for TV and for movies. So he knew exactly who he was. And when you know who you are and you're in vibrational alignment with yourself and you create the kind of environment around you that reflects that, you can receive information, but in addition to the receiving of the information, everything that comes in, as much as we can try to mitigate how we filter it, and this is a big thing and why I'm always saying, if you're trying to do this kind of work, to meditate, because everything that comes in goes through the filter of our own mind. And in addition to the filter of our own mind, the way in which some information comes in and we try to make sense of it is very much in relation to what our vibration is. So someone who's a dark vibration, when information comes in, it's going to go through a dark vibration filter, and they're going to share it in that same vein of it being dark. Someone, for example, who's a lighter vibration, when information comes in, they're going to make sense of it through a lighter vibration lens. I'm going to give you a really good example of two people, which is not, I don't think this is naming names, but I will say what their names are. So the first one is someone like Stephenie Meyer. Now, for anyone who's not familiar, Stephenie Meyer is the writer of a series of books by the name of Twilight. And she had received this idea of a beautiful looking boy laying out in a field of flowers. And when the sunlight hit his body would sparkle like diamonds. And from that one idea that she had received, she was able to craft the entire Twilight world and the entire Twilight series. But this was a very different interpretation of vampires. Because in the past, the way that vampires had been written about was that if they go out in the sun, their body would like burn or they would explode. So when an author shares information with their readers, You are getting an insight into A, the way that they view the world, B, the lens in which information comes into them, and C, what their vibration is. So she's somebody who is, let's say, of a lighter vibration, so that way when the information came in, it was shared in a way that was of a lighter nature. Take, for example, somebody else that's like a Stephen King. When he receives information, all of the books that he writes about are of a darker nature. So you are getting insight into what his vibration is, the way that the information comes into him, and how it is shared with the readers. Very, very, very important. So when you're exposing yourself, for example, to books that you want to read, that's something to keep in mind, because you are getting, it's an energetic exchange with the author of the book, with all of the readers. You are getting a taste of their energy, and you are getting a taste of their vibration. Not telling you what to do. You can still read any and all books that you want to. Just food for thought, right? I like to give you guys like things that are maybe thought-provoking. And what you do with that is up to you. Okay, so now that we've kind of like discussed David Lynch and the way in which the information came into him, so he had a very strong core identity in knowing who he was. So that way, when the information came into him, it was also always slightly like he kind of like dances to the beat of his own drummer. Like I would say he's very much, I don't know what his actual like astrological sign is, but he's very much like an Aquarius, right? Like they're a little bit just experiencing the world differently. So when the information came into him to do this kind of a show, it came in like a little bit like in a weird different way, in a way that had never been like received or thought of before. Did he know that this was going to be a reveal and a disclosure? No. Again, he's just open. The information came in and he shared it. That does not make it any less a documentary and a disclosure of the way in which these beings on the astral realm can come in and interact with us and the chaos that they can cause in our lives. Doesn't change that. It's just to say that that was not necessarily the intention of him creating this TV show. Okay. I feel good about sharing that. It was a long intro. So thank you for bearing with me, guys. Okay, so now we're going to dive into specific key components of what made this a reveal to the way that things work on the astral realm and how it interacts with our lives here. And this is also where there's going to be spoilers. So in the show, we come to understand that the person that had killed Laura was actually her father, but her father had killed her when he was being occupied by a demonic entity by the name of Bob. And that got me thinking about, I'm curious, what does Google say Bob is? Because I know what Bob is. He's a demonic entity from the astral realm that came in and caused chaos. But I was like, let's see what Google has to say. So I actually Googled this, which is funny because I really don't do things like this in preparation for these videos, but here I did. Okay. So when I Googled who is Bob in the TV show Twin Peaks, this is what Google said to me. Bob is a fictional character in the ABC television series Twin Peaks, played by Frank Silva. He is an interdimensional entity who feeds on pain and sorrow, i.e. Lush. In inhabiting spirit, he possesses human beings and then commits acts of rape and murder in order to feast upon his victims. I cannot imagine a more succinct way in which we can share what a walk-in actually is. They are interdimensional beings that feed on pain and suffering, or chaos is another way of putting it, because not all of these interdimensional beings that come in are going to commit rape and murder. But if you've watched any of my other videos, like specifically the one on like Las Vegas, that is, I mean, that's their jam. they need a body, and they like to do fucked up shit when they have a body that they can come into. Bob is kind of taking it to like the extreme. Bob took it to like the max. He was like a little bit extra. But all of the beings on the astral realm, when they come in, this is what they're going to do. They love chaos. They love having bodies to do fucked up shit and cause chaos with. Because again, they are a low vibration being. So low vibration beings are attracted to low vibration hosts that they can come into, and they are attracted to low vibration activities that they can engage in and with. So you always want to be, that's why I'm always saying, like, stay in the high vibration, because if you're in your own high vibration, you're not an energetic match for like a lot of the shit that could potentially find its way to you. But like, it's like being on a different road, right? Like if you're just on a different road from someone, you're not going to cross paths with them. So your vibration is your road. Clean up your vibration, and you're going to greatly influence the people and entities that will be on the same road with you. Okay, that's just an aside. Let's get back to it though. So Laura's father was demonically possessed by an interdimensional being called, by the name of Bob. Now we come to understand later on in the show that, I want to just find this because I wrote a lot of notes while I was channeling. But we come to understand later on in the show, while Laura's father is dying, that he reveals he saw Bob in a dream when he was younger, and he invited him inside. This is also true for ways in which entities can first make contact with people. It can be in our sleep and in our dream. And what's interesting is that came up earlier as well, where the character by the name of Cooper, I think Dale Cooper, he played he was the character of the FBI agent, played by an actor named Kyle MacLachlan. But he also had a dream in which Bob came to him. So these are two additional reveals sprinkled throughout the show in giving you an insight into, first of all, the way in which this information can come to people. One of the ways is when we're sleeping, when we're dreaming, when we have low resistance, but that our dreams are also reveals for information that our conscious mind either maybe cannot accept it or is not ready to accept it. But that's why I'm a big fan of people having like dream journals on their side of the bed, and just like when you wake up, whatever you remember, jotting notes down, because a lot of the stuff that comes in can be information from the other side. But what's really notable about this is you have two characters in the same show that dreamed about Bob. So this too is giving you an insight into the way in which these entities from the astral realm line up with people. So this FBI agent by the name of Dale Cooper was a higher vibration character on the show. Therefore, Bob could really only just visit him, but could not stay with him. But the character who played the father was evidently a darker vibration person that Bob could come and could stay with him on either a longer basis or would come in and out. Because here's the thing, your body to a being on the astral realm is only as good to them as your battery is charged. At some point, you're gonna have to sleep, you're gonna have to shower, you're gonna have to have like a relationship with your spouse or partner if you have one. And the entities, they don't really wanna stick around for that because that's not fun for them. So they're going to be more of a transient nature, and they're going to come in and out of their host body. So for a character like Laura Palmer's father on the show, because he was a low vibration person or a low vibration host, he was a vibrational match for Bob to come into him, and Bob favored him more than he would favor or be a vibrational match for someone like this Cooper character. So that is also why Bob came in and out and had more access to her father on the show. Now, here's another review. When Laura was killed, she was killed at, I think, an abandoned train. And this was so spot on. This was so perfect because the train is a representation of the transient nature in which beings on the astral realm will come into a host body, right? Even if they have like a favorite host body, like her father, they can't stay there forever because our battery gets depleted, and it will get depleted quicker when you are hosting a dark entity from the astral realm. So it's very much a transient nature of just the way a train would pull up to a train station. People get on, people get off, people go to the next stop, they get on, they get off. There's nothing like long-term about it. It's just very, very energetically transient. It's a perfect representation. When a host body starts to become energetically depleted, the entity that is in them will get off, just like it's getting off at a train stop. Maybe it will find somebody else that it can hop into, or maybe it will just go back up to the astral plane where it is from. But it is a spot-on representation. Now we're going to continue to work on this, what had occurred at the train. So in addition to it being very transient in its nature, there was a girl, a friend that was with Laura Palmer on the night that she was killed. And I don't really remember, or not really too sure like what her story was. If she was missing periods of her memory, or she was so traumatized that she just couldn't even talk about it. But in that case, what had happened was they brought a specific scent to her, and she smelled it, and she said, Laura. Because there was something that had happened on the night that Laura was killed that was connected to a scent that she was reminded of. And what that scent was, scent, not like being sent somewhere, but like a smell of something, a scent. What that scent was that the night that Laura was killed, her father had done some sort of a ceremony to summon the entity of Bob into his body that night. And that scent reminded this girl of the ceremony that was performed that night. So also very, very interesting that yes, ceremonies, incantations, playing with a Ouija board perhaps, all of those things can invoke spirits to come. So food for thought, again, don't play with these things because you don't know what entities you might actually bring in. Another thing, if you're in a metaphysical store and they're selling candles, candles for love, candle for abundance, whatever the candle might be, I'm going to also encourage you to think about, if you are not with the person that is creating those candles and don't know what their intention is and don't know what their vibration is, to not perhaps buy those candles. Because even though you might be thinking, this is harmless, this is for love, this is for abundance, the intention of the person that created it, and in fact, they could have been putting spells or invocations into it while they were creating it. We don't know what that is an energetic match for. So if you're ever going to buy candles like that, I would encourage you to buy it from someone who you personally know and know well, so you know what their energetic expression is and what kind of energy they are working with. Is it of the high or is it of the dark? Is it, team high vibe or team high vibe or team dark side? Again, just food for thought. But everything here, all of this is just reveals for what goes on in life all the time. We just don't know it and we just don't see it, but we do now. Okay, the other thing that really, really stood out to me in my recollection of the show before I started to actually do research on it for other things that I wanted to share was there's a scene in the forest where there's a red curtain. And on the other side of the red curtain, it's like you're in a backwards world, because there's like a little man there and he's talking, but it's not a language that anybody knows. It's not like you would hear it and you'd be like, oh yeah, that's Albanian. It's actually, I think what they had done on the show is they had taken, he was talking and they just took what he was saying and they reversed it. So it was in reverse of the natural way that people speak. Very, very interesting. Because what was that red curtain? Can anyone guess? It was the veil. It's not necessarily the veil in which everybody sees the veil, because again, the way in which the information comes through goes through the channel of our own mind and our own vibration making sense of it. But to the writer, to this David Lynch character, the way in which he saw the veil was as a red curtain. So he was depicting the veil, and that on the other side of the veil, things are backwards. Because again, that's either the way it came in or that was his vibration. So the veil can look different to different people. There is a veil, but the way in which we see it, again, it's going through our own filters and our own vibration. Sorry, I know I'm harping on it. It's just like so spot on. And also the significance of this happening in the Pacific Northwest, and that I had actually shared in some of my other videos as well. And I had specifically actually called out the Pacific Northwest in my video on, what was it, Bigfoot, angels, fairies, Bigfoot, angels, fairies, and dragons. I specifically had called out the Pacific Northwest. That is an energetic convergence point. It is so perfect and so spot on because we are being shown the Pacific Northwest, where this show is said to have taken place. A lot of forests, a lot of nature, a lot of trees, and there was a energetic convergence point there in which entities can cross interdimensionally through different dimensions. It is so freaking spot on. I can't even. Okay, let's move on from the what I can't even about. Okay. Here's where I started to do, which I never do, you guys, you know I never ever do this, but I was like, holy shit, if I can remember all of these things just off the top of my head from what I remembered watching the show 30 years ago, then for sure, if I start doing research on it, I'm going to be able to make even more additional connections. And I did. So here's where we're going to do a little diversion where I'm going to start to talk about those things. But it is still channeled. It is either still, once I had done the research, channeling it and looking at it behind the veil, or it is me sharing the psychological component of it, but the psychological component of it is still a reveal. So it's all connected. Okay. So there's another character in the show. His name is Renault. And I guess everybody is in like a lodge or something having dinner, or I don't know what they're doing in the lodge. But he gives a speech. And this is well into somewhere in the show where the FBI agent Cooper is very much like ingrained in the day-to-day life of these, the people who live in this sleepy little town called Twin Peaks. But this character gives a speech about Cooper, and yes, I'm going to read this. Forgive me, guys. And how he was hurting Twin Peaks by actually trying to help it. And it's because he was exposing all the town's secrets. This is going to resonate with anybody that perhaps you yourself have tried to share information with, but they did not want to hear it. Because this is really reflecting, first of all, why there is a veil. The uncomfortable truth of recognizing that the world is not, for example, the way we had perceived it to be, or the way that we are comfortable with it existing, or the way we're comfortable with it in our interactions with it, is why a lot of people, first of all, it's why the veil exists. But it's why you will encounter people who will argue in favor of the veil. Because there is an uncomfortable truth in admitting to the fact that the world is not the way we have perceived it to be, or the way we have tried to create it in our day-to-day existence. So you will encounter people that are going to argue in favor of it. It's uncomfortable. That's why there's a veil. Because some people do not want to know or are not ready to know what is on the other side of either their own personal veil or the veil that exists in the world that protects us from uncomfortable truths about the world. And then what happened thereafter is this Renault guy apparently took out a gun and he wanted to kill this Agent Cooper. And this too is the way in which, and again, if anyone else has experienced this, when you are the bringer of certain truths, certain uncomfortable truths, or certain information, people will get really, really angry and they will get really, really mad at you because you are the messenger. Hence the expression, don't shoot the messenger. So this was such a perfect way of putting that into a visual representation, that this character Cooper was the bringer of information, bringer of truths, a dissolver of the veil in the way in which the people in this town chose to live their life, not wanting to see the truth of what was going on. And there was a lot of stuff that came out in the show that was much, much darker. For example, there was a drug ring that was going on, and this perfect, so-called perfect prom queen, this Laura Palmer that everyone loved and everyone had like such great things to say about her, lived a secret life, lived a double life. I think she was even like a prostitute. So there's a lot of dark truths that people are not going to want to see. It could be about people they know. It could be about themselves. It could be about the world. But when we come and try to dissolve the veil for them, understand that it exists for a reason, and it is to protect the person that does not want to see beyond it and will argue for it. Okay, let's move on from there. Yes, and we cannot wake people up that are making a choice that they wish to remain asleep. We cannot dissolve other people's personal veils. We can only dissolve our own personal veil. And then in the way that we choose to live our life, post the dissolving of the veil, perhaps we can inspire others to live the same. But we can never, ever dissolve another person's veil. They will reinforce it with denial. Okay, so we touched on, this is just so, being an interdimensional character, feeding off the pain and sorrow of other people. That is exactly what Louche is, right? Louche is the emotions, the shared, it's more than just a single soul emotion, right? That is, yes, we are all experiencing things on a daily basis that can be uncomfortable for us, and we are having these human experiences and we are having these human emotions. That is creating Louche. They are living on it. But look at it this way as well. Imagine if there is a way that you can have a huge release of Louche at any one given time. And it would be such a big event that people would be talking about it year after year on an ongoing basis. Think, for example, what that might be. If there's anything that you might have witnessed, maybe in the last, say, 20 years, that happened in the month of September, that caught not just the United States' attention, but like worldwide attention. And there was such a big emphasis on focus at this exact location because of what had happened, not just specifically in New York where it occurred, but other things that had happened like locally or close by in the United States as well. So big event, captures everyone's attention, gets everybody feeling a little bit unease, feeling a little bit less safe in their own life, in their own world, in their own existence. Think of the massive amount of loosh that then creates. Just food for thought. That's all I'm going there. I'm going anywhere else with that. Okay. Now, there is something that also came out a little bit later on. And again, yes, I'm sorry, I am reading from my notes because this was notes that I had taken on things that occurred in the show. But apparently there's a place called the Black Lodge. And the Black Lodge is, this make me think I have to go back and watch the show too. I probably will at some point, but I was so excited when I channeled this. I was like, I just need to share this with everybody. And then maybe this might be part 1 of a part 2. I don't know, we'll see. But so there's a place called the Black Lodge, and it's a realm which exists alternate planes of reality. Hello reveal on exactly what a Mandela effect is. A Mandela effect is a convergent point of planes in which alternate realities exist that you can then see or get a taste of. And hang on, I actually drew a picture of what the Mandela effect is that I'll actually share with you guys, because I'm a big, I learn best through, I'm a visual person. I learn best through seeing things. So for example, like when I was in yoga teacher training, the way that I would learn like the proper alignment of asanas and of postures was in it being shown to me. Like if it was not shown to me, if it was just like explained or talked about, that shit is just too esoteric for me. Like I like esoteric, but if I'm trying to learn something, I don't want to learn it in an esoteric way. I want to learn it in like a way that I can absorb it. And the way that I absorb things is visually. So I'm just trying to keep you guys entertained while I'm looking for my picture of the Mandela effect that I drew. But also I'm going through all of the notes that I've channeled so you can see there's a lot of information that I have to share with you guys. And I'm really excited to share it with you because there's so much. My notebook is actually almost completely full. So stick around if you're here this long and if you have not yet subscribed, I highly recommend subscribing because shit's gonna get really wild. Okay, so this is what a Mandela effect is, or the way in which I was able to see what this so-called Black Lodge is. Okay, don't read my notes. This is proprietary. No, I'm just kidding. This is the line of vision. This triangle represents what I'm a little bit too close there. I don't like that angle. But the triangle represents what a Black Lodge is, or this like convergence point. And then all of these lines that are coming out from it are representations of the alternate realities in which we can actually see things. So that's what a Mandela effect, just for anyone who doesn't actually know what a Mandela effect is. I'm gonna keep you entertained while I look for my notes again, because I think I lost it, but here it is. Mandela effect is a so-called truth that we know to be true because we have all experienced it on a grand scale. So a really, really good example of what a Mandela effect is, for example, everyone talks about like the book, The Berenstain Bears. How is it now? Like now it's suddenly like the Berenstain Bears, wasn't it like the Bernstein Bears or something like it? And one day it's like all of a sudden, something that we thought to be one way is a totally different way. And another really good example is a video a friend had shared with me on the very, 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 very famous scene in Risky Business, where the Tom Cruise character is wearing a shirt and he slides into the room just in a shirt and he starts dancing, right? So and comment down below if you've seen this and if you knew it to be the way I'm about to describe it. The way that it was originally described was, or the way everyone remembers it to be, not even described, he was wearing sunglasses. And I remember seeing that for the first time many, many years ago, sunglasses, and the shirt was a slight color, like maybe like a pinky or something. And then all of a fucking sudden, There's no glasses, no sunglasses, and he's in a white shirt. But in every way that it's referenced or talked about, it is with him wearing sunglasses. So what the heck? That's an example of the Mandela effect, where something that we knew to be for many, many, many years of our life suddenly one day up and changes. How can that be? That is the experience of the Mandela effect, and where reality appears to have changed on us. Let me just see if I have anything else I want to say. Yes, that is exactly what a Mandela effect is. It's a realm or a convergence point which exists alternate planes of reality. So here you go, a big ass reveal on what the Mandela effect is. So it is an alternate plane where there are alternate events or occurrences conclusion of events. We can sometimes see into them when things in our reality alter in some monumental way, just like the two things that I had just mentioned before. Okay, we're gonna wrap this up. I know this is running kind of long. It doesn't help that I had to keep you guys entertained while I was looking for things, but okay. In the final episode, the show concludes with Cooper going into the lodge. He's going into the Black Lodge, and there being a discussion about Cooper selling his soul. Because yes, this is also real. We're gonna get into it. Hang with me, guys. We're going there. So there's a discussion about Cooper selling his soul, but instead the soul of his former FBI partner is taken by Bob. So here's the question. Can dark entities collect souls? Yes, absolutely they can. So they're not just necessarily inhabiting bodies of low vibration beings that they're a vibrational match for. They can collect souls. So if you kind of go back in the past where I was maybe alluding to this and I was saying things such as, making a deal with the devil, so to say, that was basically what people can actually do. They can make a deal with the devil. So selling of the soul is real. It's absolutely real, and it was outed in the show that this is a real thing. And also that the Black Lodge is the astral plane where these entities exist and where they come from. So another way of looking at all of this, which is, let's say, for example, and again, I'm going to just briefly reference my video on the music industry because that really does apply to like the selling of your soul. Somebody really wants to make it in the industry. And there's actually plenty of videos, and I'm not going to name names, because if you guys are interested, you can go do the research. But there's actually plenty of videos of celebrities who have said they made a deal and they sold their soul to the devil. Take it however you want to take that. If that was a joke, take it however you want to. I'm just going to more touch upon the fact that, yes, this is real. And this can happen. And when somebody makes a deal with the devil, it is, again, for any multitude of reasons. And how it pertains specifically, let's say, to like the music industry, or how in this case it could pertain to somebody like an FBI agent by the name of Agent Cooper, Dale Cooper. They want your body, A. B, they want to take you away from the high side, from Team High Vibe over to Team Dark Side. Because again, somebody can be like I had said in my video on Tupac Shakur, somebody can be very, very high vibration. They can be very magnetic. They can be an unbelievable performer. They can have a way with words. So what they would want to do is not allow that vibration to exist of the light, because that's going to help with the evolution of humanity. And the beings on the astral plane, these dark entities, they do not want that to happen. Because when that happens, they're going to be displaced, not just temporarily, but permanently. Because I've actually looked into it. And what I was able to see is that as we start to ascend, and as our energy and our vibration starts to rise up, it burns their skin very much the way we have been led to believe that the sun would burn the skin of a vampire. Think about that. That's a reveal too. I know I mentioned that before, but listen to what I am saying here and now. We have been shown in books and movies that the way dark entities, such as a vampire, one of the ways they can be killed is when they are in the sun. So it's the introduction or the exposure of a high vibration to a dark entity and how it singes their skin and it destroys them. Because that is actually what will happen to the entities on the astral plane as we are evolving and as we are ascending. Our high vibration rises up. Imagine like if you've ever been someplace really, really hot and you see like steam rising up from the concrete going up. That is the way our energy is rising up into the astral realm. And once it gets up there, it is singeing their skin. It is destroying them. So it is very much in their best interest if they want to continue to exist and feed off of us and feed off of our loosh. Very, very good way in which to do that is to lock down influential people in the music industry or in the movie industry, because now you have taken them away from Team High Vibe and you have brought them over to Team Dark Side. And they're going to push your agendas, they're going to push your messages, they're going to be using incantations into songs and who knows what else. So that is very, very, very much real. People can sell their soul to the devil, so to say. And what is the devil if not a dark being from the astral realm or the astral plane? So this is very much real. That is how it could be used for the dark side in, let's say, the entertainment industry. But now if you think about somebody that is very, very pure with their intentions and has integrity and is in a position where they are to help people, such as an FBI agent, what would then happen if that person was corrupted by a dark entity? Think of the chaos that could be caused by someone that is meant to help, but is now hurting. Food for thought, guys. So I'm gonna wrap it up there. I think this was a very, very good part 1 of a maybe potential part 2 series on the disclosure and the reveal of a show called Twin Peaks. If you guys have seen the show and if this resonates, I would love to hear a comment down below. And if not, guys, just take what resonates, leave the rest behind. And as always, and especially now that you understand maybe a little bit better why, as always, stay in the high vibration, stay on your lane and in your road and your energetic vibration. Thank you for being here. Bye.